Hey witches, welcome back to the channel once again. This is Hectarius, Witch of the Realms. I made a post on my community tab a while back talking about doing a video on altars. And there's really a main thing that I want to talk about with that. But before I get into that, there is a question that I got on that post that I want to go ahead and address. So this question is from Hipster Potato, asking, maybe get into things like what's the point of an altar? What's the difference between a mental altar and a physical one? Do they do the same thing? Can you have multiple altars to entities that don't really agree with each other or are opposing energies? So I'm going to answer these questions first before I get into the main topic that I want to talk about with this video. First of all, the point of an altar, okay, is whatever you determine that you're making an altar for. You know, what is it that you're trying to do? What energies are you trying to connect with? To me, an altar is a spiritual nexus point. You know how we have sacred spaces in nature, there's points of power and things like that in nature? Your altar is something like that, but it's something that you create. You're creating a spiritual nexus point to connect with higher energies or spiritual energies. That's what an altar really is. And there's different types of altar. There's altar that you can create to connect with deities. There's altars that you can create just for doing your own work. There's meditation altars that you can create. There's altars that you can create for specific goals like money, love, healing, peace, protection. You can create altars for different purposes and for connecting with different energies. And there's different types of altars that you can make. You can create a altar, the traditional altar on a table. You can create an altar that is a portable one in a little tin box. I've seen people do that. You can create a travel altar, which is like a bag or a box that you have all of your different requirements for your altar in, and you just take it with you. You pull out a little cloth, you lay it out, and you put all your little tools on there, and you can set it up anywhere. You can create nature altars outdoors. You can create an altar at the base of a tree. You know, you can create a vision board altar, right? There's no limit on the type of altars that you can create and the energies that you're trying to connect with building your altar. So the point of an altar comes down to what you're trying to do with it. Don't allow yourself to become limited by, you know, what other people's opinions about altars are. I don't see a lot of people talking about altars, personally. Or if I do, it's always the basics, it's always the beginner level stuff. You know, setting up your altar in a basic way. You know, things like that. So, don't allow that to limit you. You can create an altar for anything. So yeah, just don't let yourself become limited by anything what's out there. You can create an altar however you want. And it could be for any purpose that you want, right? So, once again, for the point of the altar, you determine that for yourself, okay? What's the difference between a mental altar and a physical altar? Do they do the same thing? Yes, they do the exact same thing. There's no magical spiritual difference between a physical altar and a mental one. They do the exact same thing. They serve the exact same purpose. However, the difference is one is mental and one's physical. So with one you can actually, you know, do physical work on, and with the other one you'll have to do it all, you know, mentally. So that's really the only difference. And when it comes down to that, I would say just really which one would be best for you, or you know, which one would you want to utilize, that's going to come down to you and your creative visualization skills, your imagination, and you know what you're able to accomplish with that. How powerful magic that you're able to manifest just with your creative visualization and imagination alone. Some witches are very proficient at doing magic that way, and others need a little bit more hands-on approach. So it just depends on you as a person and what you're good at, and that will help you determine what type of altar would be best for you. And of course you can have a physical altar for certain things and a mental altar for other things. It's just all depending on what you're doing with your work and what feels right for you. On your question, can you have multiple altars to entities that don't really agree with each other or are opposing energies? I would say yes to that, but once again, this is going to come down to you and what you feel. Entities, deities, spiritual beings are not a one-size-fits-all in the least. They are very much living things. They're living beings. And so the way that they interact with each person is going to be different. For example, your mom will have a different attitude and approach and relationship with you than she would with a stranger. So what I mean when I'm saying that, the reason why I give that example is, let's talk about, you know, are you talking about your matron deity? Are you talking about your patron deity? Okay, or are you talking about a spirit that you don't really have that close connection with? Those type of one-on-one relationships that you have with the spirits that you're asking about will help determine sort of what you can expect when you're trying to put different deities together. Okay, some deities won't get along, some will. But once again, it also comes down to what is their personal relationship with you. Maybe you could be a common ground that they share, and so they'll have no issues working with each other when they're working with you. Okay? So that's something that you need to, you know, look at in your personal life and determine for yourself, like, what is this going to work out or not? And also too, they'll let you know. You don't really have to even ask this question or try to predetermine it. If you have different deities in your home, if you have them on the same altar or in two different altars in the same room or two different altars in the same home, whatever, you'll get the vibes, you know, what feels right, what doesn't feel right. And also they will let you know if they're not okay with something. They'll also let you know if they're okay with it. So you sort of just have to play this by ear and just allow yourself to experiment and see what, you know, what works and what doesn't for you. And it's not going to be the same for every person, so you need to sort of do it for yourself. As far as putting two different deities on the exact same altar, I have had mixed experiences with that. Nothing has ever gone wrong in the sense of creating negative outcomes for me or any sort of harm. I've heard people say that before, so I can't speak for everyone, but that has never happened to me. However, I will say, when I've put opposing energies on my one same altar, I do sometimes feel like things are just off. And that it won't be as powerful as it could be as far as doing spell work with that. So I will separate deities and energies depending what I'm feeling from it. If I do feel like it's off, then I'll keep them separate. But if I feel like they're fine together, then I'll work them together and it'll be fine. Now that leads me into the actual main point that I wanted to talk about, the concept of living altars. And what I mean by that is your altar should be an expression of your current spiritual path. And as your spiritual path evolves over time and as you change as a person, you should allow your altar to change as well. Your altar is supposed to be like a reflection of your path. It's supposed to be a external or mental, depending on what type of altar you're making, expression of the work that you're doing, okay? And because of that reason, your altar should change. It should evolve over time. It should be different. You should change it up. You should, you know, frequently change it up. We're not stuck in the same work throughout the entire year even. We change up what our focus is. We change up what energies we're channeling, what goals we have in mind. And I feel like we should definitely allow that to be reflected in our altars. I never have a static altar for very long. I'm always changing it up. Whatever energies I'm working with currently, whatever energies I'm channeling, whether it be that for myself or for a client or whatever, I change up my altar to reflect that and to bring that energy in, because that's what I'm trying to connect with at that time. So that's sort of how I do things. I do have some altars to specific deities like Hecate or whatever that I sort of keep more as a permanent thing. I do still change those up as well, but most of the time it's more of a static energy. But when it comes to my main working altar, that is what I mainly change and continue to fluctuate with whatever I'm channeling at that time, whatever I'm working with at that time. And I feel like you should definitely do that. If you're not doing that, try doing this and see how much of an impact it has on your work. And one thing I want to say with that, the only time I really hear people talk about this is when they're talking about the more basic thing of changing your altar with the seasons or changing it with the Sabbath. I don't do that. I do it, once again, with what I'm feeling. So it could be Imbolc, it could be Beltane, it could be Yule, but I'll have my altar set up for working with the dead, you know, things like that, because that's what I'm doing at that time. So it just depends, like, what am I working with will be how I reflect that in my altar space. And it doesn't have to be in alignment with the Sabbath at all. Okay? So that's really the main thing I wanted to say with this video, and I wanted to just put that out there for you all to just take and run with. You know, what do you feel is right? Do you set up your altar and change it with the seasons? Do you change it with, you know, the Sabbath? Or do you change it more with what you're feeling that you're working with? Or do you just keep your altar static and it's the same all the time? Let me know how you guys do it, or what your ideas or what your beliefs are about working with altars. And hopefully you found this an interesting video and something that you could try and apply in your life and with your magical works. As always, until next time, Hail Hecate, hail to the witches, and blessed be.